Okay, let's do it. Let's have the discussion because, well, everything at Arsenal is not quite as glamorous as it has been in the past 18 months. Let's just be honest about it, about some of these players. Look, we could sit here and we could go in and about the manager, and I think we do have to address Arteta a little bit, but I think some of these players we just need to get real about because, while everything's been going well, we've sort of been clouded a bit by some of these players, and I think we've been bailed out enough times to sort of let some things slide. And I think now we're in this rough patch. A lot of realism is setting in because, well, quite frankly, some of these players aren't quite good enough to get us over the line and win a Premier League title. I think that's pretty evident now. But let's start with Arteta, shall we? Because look, I'm Arteta's biggest fan. I think what he's done has been insane. And I do think he is the manager to take us forward. If you go and sack him, I don't think you're getting anybody else quite as good as him. But he's making some mistakes right now. He's not showing the creativity to do something a bit different and try something new. He's fallen back on his set piece coach, Nicholas Jova, to bail us out. And you're looking at it and you're thinking, who's actually the coach then? Because you're not actually winning us these games. It's your set piece coach which is winning you games. And so I think he needs to really brainstorm some new ideas. Yes, the personnel will go into that, and that's why I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. But I think overall, look, the tactics are all right. It's just when we get to the final third and we don't look like we can score goals at the minute. And I understand, yes, we're playing against deep blocks pretty much every single week. Teams like Chelsea and Liverpool, who haven't been sussed out like we have because they're very new under new managers, they're getting a lot of freedom. They're not playing against disgusting deep blocks every single game, and they have a lot of space to do what they want to do in the final third. We don't quite get that luxury right now. We did in 22-23. That's why we scored loads of goals and we were very exciting, but we don't have that anymore because there's so much data from the way we play for teams to do their research on. And so I'm sorry, he does have to take some responsibility as the manager, because when you're going up against Fulham, you need to be able to trust Miles Lewis-Skelly, who came in against Man City, who came in against Liverpool, who was given the trust in those games, and for some reason he's not given the trust here. And then all of a sudden you're taking Timber from right back, who was flourishing at right back, doing so well over there with Saka and Odegaard, and you're taking him to the other side and you're completely ruining that dynamic. Not just that, you're moving Partey into right back, and it's just you're making too many changes just for the sake of having experience on the pitch. But you're playing against Fulham. If you can't trust a 19-year-old Miles Lewis-Skelly against a Fulham, then what hope do they have? They may as well pack their bags and leave. But I want to move on from Arteta. I don't want this to be too long, to be honest. I just sort of want to get it out there because I think a lot of us just need to be realistic about it. And I'm one of these who's very guilty of just, when everything was going well, just being positive and too positive about some of these players. But I think it's pretty obvious that some of these aren't quite good enough for where we want to go. That doesn't necessarily mean they need to be sold, but their importance, their level of importance on the squad needs to be decreased, and they need to be more squad players rather than relied upon. I mean, we're looking at players like Jorginho and Trossard who were brought in as stopgaps. All of a sudden now they're starting games and they're relied upon. That's not the roles they were brought in to do. But because we've got comfortable and overly excited by their performances and the surprising nature of their performances, we weren't expecting them to have the impact that they did have when they first came in. The recruitment team, the owners, the manager even, has just sort of let it slide and trusted them way too much and hasn't been aggressive and ruthless enough to bring in even better, which is what we needed in the summer to get over the line, which is what we've not done that. If you cast your minds back to when we signed Trossard, the main target was Mudryk for 80 odd million, and then we bring in Trossard for around 20 million, and he's still here now. I'm not saying sell Trossard. I still think he's one of the best 12 men in the Premier League. I think he's being very greedy at the moment, and I don't like his attitude, but I still think he has something to offer in the squad, not as a starter though. Then there's Jorginho. I think still, if you have him in the role that El Neni had, playing hardly any games, but just being there for experience and stepping in when needed, fine. But we've started starting him too much now. And then it begs the question, when you've got the midfield of Rice in the 8, Jorginho in the 6, and you're putting Partey at right back, it's like, why sign Marino then? Because we quite clearly need a left 8. You bring in Marino, I'm sorry, he's not playing games, is he? And when he does play games, he's not standing out. He's not doing what we need him to do. So you're looking at that after the window we just had, and you're questioning why we signed him. And we needed quality there. And for some reason you bring in Marino, and this, at the moment, hasn't worked out, has it? It's quite obvious that Declan Rice's best position is in the number 6 role, but you're trying to force all these number 6s into the same team and then wondering why we can't create things in the final third. Probably because you don't have dynamic players in the final third. You have more defensive minded players scattered all over the pitch. And again, that's a recruitment, that's a management problem, because they need to really be looking at that and being more ruthless and bringing in more quality, because we don't have enough quality in the final third. Now let's go on to that. Gabriel Martinelli. Let's talk about it, because I did a video a good load of months ago. You could go back and even find it. And I've tried not to, even on TikTok, even on Twitter. I've tried to bite my tongue this season and just let it slide and just accept the fact that people are not agreeing with what I'm saying. I'm sorry if you don't agree with what I've been saying for the past year. If you don't agree now, I can't help you. You may as well click off this video, because whatever I'm going to say is not going to process into your brain. He is not good enough to get Arsenal over the line to win a major trophy. He wasn't a year ago, he isn't now. Against Fulham was a prime example of that. Now I get it, we all love Martinelli. He came through for £6 million, this Brazilian wonder kid out of nowhere. We were comparing him to Saka. Who's got the higher ceiling? Quite clearly it was always going to be Saka with a higher ceiling, because he's got more intelligence, he has more to his game. But there's some fans who love the Brazilian nature of Martinelli. I'm sorry, right now he looks the furthest thing from Brazilian. People looked at the raw talent, the pace, the way he would take on players. He's done. I'm sorry. I'm not saying sell Martinelli, but you cannot be relying on him as the main guy now, because there's so many talented left wingers in European football. You have to go for that in the summer. You just do. I know we need a striker. Okay, we'll go on to Havertz in a second. But the whole narrative of, oh, we need a striker, we need a world-class striker, is so lazy. The past year, what we've needed is a world-class left winger. In fact, is it even a world-class left winger? Just a left winger who's going to break open a deep block. I'm not saying bring in someone that's going to supply 20 goals a season. I'm not saying that. But there are some games, most games, where if a set piece doesn't work to bail you out, if Saka or Odegaard don't bail you out, you need a different type of player, a maverick on the other side, because right now the pitch is so lopsided to the right, it's ridiculous. Every team is just going, you know what, 3-4 players on Saka and Odegaard, because they're the threat. The other side of the pitch, they ain't going to do anything, so just put one man against Martinelli and we should be good. And that's the situation right now. We need a left winger, quite clearly. If you don't see that above the striker, then that's up to you, that's your opinion. But for right now, you bring in a new left winger, Havertz will still do enough to help us get over the line, in my opinion. You bring in a new striker, might be enough to get over the line, but that left wing is such a problem. I can't express it enough. That left wing is such a problem. We're so reliant on the right-hand side of our pitch, it's a joke. And I'm not hearing these excuses about Calafiori not being there. We've heard excuses for Martinelli for, like I said, 18 months now. It's always something else. It's never just the fact he's not the guy that we all hoped he would be. But I'm going to ease off on Martinelli now, because I'm sorry, if you don't see it, then I can't help you, because some people are just not going to accept it because they love the player and they're just not going to allow it to enter their brain. But I'm sorry, if you want to win titles, you have to just be real about it. And that's what I'm trying to do in this video, be real about some of these players. Let's move on to Kai Havertz, because I've backed him. I've backed him from the start, and I've tried to back him. As soon as he went up front, I thought, yeah, this is his position. And I don't think we should sell him. And look, we could sit here and we could talk about the money, the wages he's on, the £65 million. Doesn't really matter. Don't care. It's not my money, is it? As long as you go and still spend the money on what we do need. And that's the problem, because we haven't done that. You're going to look back at the 65 million and think, what a waste of money. And I'm sorry, he's not doing it right now. There's that shot he had against Fulham, and it just completely highlighted what he is as a striker. Lackluster. Not much there. Not much enthusiasm. Not much conviction. You know, you put a Gyökeres or an Isak there, they're going to find a way to open up some space and bang it into one of the corners, smash it into one of the corners. When have we ever seen Kai Havertz nearly break the goal with a shot? Never. He hasn't got the conviction. And look, like I said, I'm going to go back to it. I don't necessarily think we need to sell him, because I do think he gives us qualities for some games. But we're in a point where we're relying on him so much as the main number 9. Just look. The evidence is there. I don't need to sit here and explain it to you. You're watching the games. And then we're looking at Gabriel Jesus coming off the bench to try and give us something else. He is finished. Okay, we've got to be real about that. He's finished a long time ago. It's not necessarily his fault. The injuries have absolutely hampered him. But he's done. Okay, him coming off the bench is just... You're not bringing anything on. He's not going to do anything. It's just a waste of a substitution. It's the same as Sterling. Why did we bring him in? These just washed players, they're done. We need to clear out some of these players. Jesus, bye. Sterling, yeah, let him go ASAP. Kai Havertz, you need to be demoted down into a squad role. Zinchenko, bye. Trossard, potentially bye. Martinelli, potentially bye or moving into a squad rotational role. We need a new left eight by the looks of it. We need a new left winger. We need a new striker. And we need one of them this January, a big one this January. And for me, it's a new left winger. I'm sorry, this is so negative, but the situation right now at Arsenal is not quite, on the positive side, is it? So we've got to be real about it. Do I think we're out of the title race? We're still in the race. I don't think we'll win it now. We fluffed it. Liverpool come out of this weekend as the winners without even playing. We had the opportunity to completely shoot Man City out of the title race and we didn't. They're still lingering about because we've dropped points once again. You can't be dropping points against Fulham in the context of the situation right now as Arsenal. So, as far as I'm concerned, the title's pretty much done. We'll still be there or thereabouts, but we're not going to win it because Liverpool have too much of a gap and I can't see them... I can't see him fluffing it now. So, look, and Chelsea are doing very well as well. So, it is what it is. This January, we need to talk because the Cronkies need to dig into their pockets this January or else things could get really, really toxic. Anyways, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to comment what you think down below. I know some of you are probably going to cry about it, but it is what it is. Anyways, goodbye.